Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. Purdue continues to stack victories as it left the Pacific Northwest with a pair of wins to extend its win streak to 7 games. How did Purdue take both despite only making 5 3-pointers in the 2 games combined? It did it on the defensive end. We'll dive into the victories before previewing the week ahead as Purdue returns to Mackey Arena. Plus, where does the Big Ten race stand as we near the halfway point of the league schedule? We'll talk about it all today and then some. If you don't already, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. There has been a lot to talk about in these games and in the big picture with Purdue. Be sure to follow so you don't miss a thing. Come join the conversation. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be coming at you every week through the end of the season. And be sure to send in questions. You can do that on Twitter. You can email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. Twitter at boilersbeyond. But, look, Purdue gets a couple of road wins here, 69-58 at Washington, and then a 65-58 win at Oregon. The theme of the week here was Purdue starting pretty slow in these games, but finishing really strong. Purdue trailed at halftime of both, trailed by 8 at halftime up at Washington. I think it just trailed by a point at halftime at Oregon. But Purdue finishes really strong. When you look at it, Purdue had some turnover problems early at Washington. It was really just a case at Oregon of Purdue not shooting particularly well from the field. Trey Kaufman-Renn getting a little sped up early on. Oregon did a nice job on him, but he still finishes with 23 and 11. But Purdue turned it on in the second half and finished these games really nicely. It is definitely becoming a little bit of a trend on the road. When you look at what Purdue did at Minnesota, where Purdue was either up a couple points or down a couple points at halftime there. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that game was close at half. At Rutgers, Purdue really could have run away with that thing and didn't. It's not killing Purdue. The defense has been what's keeping Purdue in these games. I mean, it's fascinating to say this after early on in the season, like a Texas A&M Corpus Christi game where Purdue really struggled to get stops. A Yale game where Purdue gives up 84 points to an Ivy League team. Now, that's a good Ivy League team. That's one inside the top 80 at KenPom right now, but it's still Yale. Purdue's really improved to the point where since the new year, Purdue hasn't given up more than 68 points, and that 68 mark came in a game that, the whole second half was garbage time. Purdue's been terrific here, holding opponents under 60 in 3 of the last 4 games. Purdue's been great there. It's up to 21st in America in adjusted defensive efficiency. That's mind-blowing. That is not at all where I saw this team going at the start of the year. It looked like Purdue had some flaws that were not going to be able to be overcome. I thought the lack of rim protection was really going to harm Purdue. When you couple that with the fact that Purdue doesn't have a group of guys on the perimeter that are really your classic stoppers, guys who are impenetrable. But Purdue's doing a great job in help. Caleb First has been really good on help defense, but it's a total team effort. Purdue's been great at eliminating some of the easy buckets it gives up around the basket, and it's making teams shoot from 3. It's making teams get in the mid-range game where you're doing a really good job at containment. That's kind of what Purdue's defense is designed to do, right? It's designed to force opponents to take less than ideal shots. You'll live with your lesser 3-point shooters getting good looks from 3. For your better 3-point shooters, you're trying to run them off the line and force them into the mid-range. Purdue does a pretty good job of that historically. That's been what Purdue's defense has tried to do for some time now. But man, right now it's doing a really good job of that. It's been really, really effective. Braden Smith is playing this free safety role where, he's guarding someone, He's guarding whoever Purdue deems to be the biggest non-factor out there. And he's just kind of freestyling a little bit. He's making plays. He's going around and ball hawking and forcing steals and picking off passes. And he's really just kind of creating havoc, which isn't really what Purdue's defense is designed to do. You know, this is supposed to be a pretty assignment sound defense, but Braden Smith isn't doing that. He's he's playing like a really unique player, which he is. He's playing with the versatility to do a little bit more than what you would normally see in the confines of a structured defense. He's been everywhere, though. He's been really, really good. And, Purdue's bench is really helping on the defensive end. There is not a big drop-off on defense or offense, really, when the reserves come into the game. And that's important. We've seen it plenty of times at Purdue and really everywhere, especially now that you're in the transfer portal era, where you don't have some big bench depth on your roster. And, Purdue's playing 9 guys right now, and that's with Raleigh Burgess getting pretty limited minutes. It's kind of playing 8.5, but you're not having a big drop-off. You look at it. C.J. Cox starts. Jakari Harris comes off the bench. But as far as freshmen go, those guys are really advanced as defenders. They're doing a tremendous job where both of those guys you see on the floor in big-time minutes. In the game at Oregon, you have Jakari Harris on the floor at the end of the game for massive minutes. On the floor for free throws at the end of that game. I mean, he only plays 14 minutes, but it felt like he was playing more than that. I'm kind of surprised it was only that many. C.J. Cox has given Purdue some really good stuff. You look at Miles Colvin and Camden Heide, who have both done a really nice job on defense this year. Camden Heide is being asked a lot to play defense at the 4, which is probably not what he's best suited to do. I think he's more of a 3 than a 4. And in some of these games, he's being asked to match up with guys that are significantly bigger than him, but he's doing a really good job at it. He's fighting out there for Purdue, and that's about all you can ask him to do. Miles Colvin, same deal. He's really improved on defense. He's improved as a rebounder. He's becoming more of a two-way player. Both of those guys kind of categorized right now as your 3-and-D guys. We've talked about their limitations on offense. Neither is a particularly advanced ball handler, and that's what kind of limits them. But when you look at them defensively here, they're doing a really nice job. That they're shooting well below where you would like them to from 3. You look at it as of right now, where we are, what are we? We're 19 games into the season, so it's a decent sample size. I mean, Camden Heide shooting 35% from 3, Miles Colvin shooting 32% from 3. Not ideal, and you'd like to see that improve a little bit, but on the defensive end, they're giving Purdue what Purdue really needs the most, and they've been awesome at that. Raleigh Burgess is looking more comfortable over time. You're putting him out there, and you're not worried about it being a really rough stretch for you. He's got a ways to go still in terms of development. He's going to need some time to get the best out of him. He's probably your classic, year 3, year 4, you really start to see him come on. But Purdue's getting some really positive stuff from the bench right now. And that's not something I would have taken for granted early on in the year when it kind of looked like Purdue had 3 guys who, you could count on to be consistent and nothing else. And, consistency is hard because when you look at guys scoring consistently on limited chances, it's hard to do that. It's hard for Purdue's bench guys. For Purdue's guys really outside of the big 3 and then kind of Caleb First maybe, it's hard to be really consistent as scorers, but Purdue's getting really consistent efforts on the defensive end. And that's important because if you look at these games, Purdue doesn't shoot well. Purdue goes 3 for 13 from 3 at Washington. I think Purdue was 0 for in the first half from 3, right? Yeah, Purdue goes 0 for 6 in the first half from 3. Purdue only makes two threes. It goes 2 for 12 in the first half or 2 for 12 in the whole game at Oregon. Not great. I mean, just not great. But Purdue is playing well enough on the defensive end to kind of overcome that. And it's encouraging to see Purdue win in different ways because this is still a top 10 offense in America. These are just kind of a rough patch. And, sure, Purdue didn't shoot super well from 3 at Rutgers either. And you look at some road games there, and you'd like to see Purdue improve shooting the ball on the road. You're always going to have a little bit of a downtick on the road versus at home, but this is a top 10 offense that's capable of winning ugly, and that's important. It's not something Purdue's been particularly good at in recent years. Purdue has really outscored teams in recent years, but the ability to win multiple ways is something that helps you get a Big Ten title. It's something that helps you pull out these games. And, you give hats off to Trey Kaufman-Renn. He goes 9 for 9 at the free throw line. He didn't have the ideal game from the field against Oregon, but he battles. He makes his free throws, something that had been a real worry all season. That needs to continue. You hope that's a sign of things to come because he's going to shoot a lot of free throws. He just is. He leads Purdue in free throws attempted by a mile. He shot 111. The next most is Fletcher Lawyer at 65. Big gap there. He's got to knock him down. It just has to. These guys came up big when Purdue needed it, though. You get a really nice performance from Caleb First. He gets 15 points at Washington. 7 of those 15 come from the free throw line, but he has a couple of nice moves in the post to get a bucket. He has a couple of nice putbacks, just kind of garbage points, but that's what you need from him. You're not going to throw the ball to him like he's Zach Edey or like he's Caleb Swanigan and expect big points, but he's giving you these just kind of dirty, gritty points. Fletcher Lawyer's terrific in the second half at Washington. Has 11 or 12, hits some big threes. Just the guy's a really talented scorer. He's really, really unique. He's a really good player for you. Jakari Harris goes to the line and makes 5 of 6 free throws at Oregon. This is someone who had only shot 7 free throws on the year going into that game, and he makes 5 of 6. Camden Heide doesn't go to the line much. He knocks down some free throws for you. He has only shot, I'm kind of losing myself here. He's only shot 13 free throws on the season too, I think. 29 free throws. He shot more than I thought. But, Purdue on defense, just as a team, you hold Oregon scoreless for 8 minutes in the second half. Purdue's coming up big here, and it's winning games in multiple ways. And when Purdue's defending the way it is, and it's able to score the way it's shown it can score at times, you put yourself in position to win some games pretty comfortably, and that's great. Purdue sweeps the West Coast trip, and it is interesting. So far, the teams going east the teams from the east have done a fine job going west. Illinois goes to the Pacific Northwest, sweeps Oregon and Washington. Michigan goes to LA, sweeps both of them. These programs and everything around these programs are so different than what you're kind of used to in the Big Ten. You look at the style of play, it's a lot more ISO ball. It's a lot more AAU type of basketball out there. Very different than what you get in the traditional Big Ten footprint. It just is. It's a little different. You see Purdue fans chanting "Whose house? Our house" at the end of these games that are thousands of miles away from West Lafayette. Obviously, Purdue does have a pretty coast-to-coast alumni base, especially some of the aviation stuff in the Seattle area. But this is stuff you don't see in the classic Big Ten schools. Very rarely. Sometimes when a team's really down, like last year, Purdue fans really took over at Michigan towards the end of Gene Katie. I know Illinois fans really took over Mackey Arena, but for the most part, you don't see that stuff. But there felt like there were more Purdue fans than Washington fans watching on TV up in Seattle. It's not like Oregon had a particularly raucous crowd for a top 20 matchup on national TV. We're a couple weeks removed from seeing Michigan fans really take over USC on a Saturday night primetime game. I was watching that game, and you can hear the "Let's Go Blue" chants from TV. This is not at all what you're used to. This is, in the Pac-12, there was no one at these games at all. Now there are people there, but it's a lot of away fans. These programs aren't ready to compete in the Big Ten. You look at it right now. I've got the KenPom projections up. Oregon's projected to finish 12-8, UCLA 10-10, USC 8-12, Washington 5-15. I mean, these aren't teams that are pushing for Big Ten titles. Oregon's already lost 3 conference games at home. They're the best one of the 4, and they've already lost 3 conference games at home. You don't see that from good teams in the eastern part of the Big Ten. I mean, when Purdue's good, it doesn't lose 3 Big Ten games at home. When Michigan State's good, it doesn't lose Big Ten games at home. When Illinois has been good, it doesn't really lose Big Ten games at home. I mean, this stuff just doesn't happen. Washington is not good. Great Osabar is a good player. He had an out-of-body shooting game against Purdue where he makes 5 for 5 from 3. But he's kind of the meme of a Lamborghini parked outside of a trailer. That roster is just not competitive. And I know we got $2 million to go there or whatever, and that's great. That was a waste of money. You're investing in a roster that's not remotely competitive. You have Mick Cronin just complaining about everything right now. That's becoming a really weird situation. It's odd. It's really odd. Eric Musselman has a lot of work to do with USC. The potential is there with that roster, but potential just means you haven't done it yet. It should be a good job. We'll see what it does long term, but it's not like USC has ever been remarkably consistent. Looking ahead, Purdue has its long travels out of the way. I saw on Twitter where Cobra Stats tweeted out Purdue travels the fewest miles in the conference for the rest of the season. You've played 8 conference games. You've already got 5 of your road games out of the way. You've gone to Rutgers. You've gone to the West Coast. You've gone to Minnesota. Some of these games that are like your furthest possible travels, you went to Penn State already. Didn't go well, but these games that are your longer travels are out of the way. And now you have 2 bus rides in Indiana and Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, Iowa. I mean, these are kind of quick, easy flights. These are also your most difficult Big Ten games. Illinois is loaded with talent. It's a 3-loss Big Ten team right now. I don't know if it's going to be able to go dominate enough the rest of the way to win the Big Ten, but it wouldn't shock me. That's a good team. Winning in East Lansing's never easy. That's a tough place to win. Michigan is good. Chrysler Center's not exactly the most terrifying home court advantage in the world, but they're a tough team. Indiana's going to be fired up for that game. It needs a win over Purdue badly. We'll see where they're at in February when Purdue goes down there, but Purdue gets its next 3 at home. You get some rest after the Michigan game, and you get some easier travel trips coming up. The new year is here, and there's no better time to make sure your insurance coverages are up to date. With inflation causing so much uncertainty in the world, you need to be certain that if worst comes to worst, you are taken care of. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I'm here to help. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com, and we'll protect you from life's everyday risk. Coming up this week, Purdue returns home. It's got Ohio State on Tuesday. kind of a quick turnaround. You play Saturday afternoon on the West Coast, fly back, you get a Tuesday evening game. But as I said, there's a little break in sight after this week when you get a full week off after Michigan before Indiana. Ohio State is a team that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This has been the case for a while now. The roster is better than the results indicate there. Ohio State, I don't get it, man. I just don't. They're 10-8 overall. They are, what are they, like 2-5 in Big Ten play. It's a much better roster than what the results are showing. Since the new year, Ohio State's 1-4. Your only win is a 2-overtime win at Minnesota that Ohio State should have lost. It doesn't make sense. Bruce Thornton's a good point guard, someone that Purdue once recruited. This is a team that's capable of shooting well, but it really doesn't always do so. We'll see what Jake Diebler does there in the long term. I'm fascinated to see how that winds up, because since Thad Matta left, and really since like the D'Angelo Russell year, it feels like Ohio State's just really underachieved, and that's like a decade now. Can Purdue bounce back shooting from deep? That's something you want to see. Purdue gets home. Last time it was home, it made 19 threes. Teams always tend to shoot better at home than on the road. Purdue could use some good vibes there. This isn't like a terribly different style of play from Washington and Oregon. Ohio State's kind of free-flowing. It doesn't run a ton of, like motion sets and stuff. It's pretty free-flowing. A game Purdue, frankly should win. I mean, Purdue's favored by 9 on KenPom. Probably later today, the point spread will come out. Game Purdue needs. And then it hosts Michigan on Friday night. That's a really big one in the Big Ten race. Rough week for Michigan. It loses at Minnesota. It needs overtime and an ejection to beat Northwestern in Ann Arbor. That's a fascinating team. Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden are easily their two best players. Both are 7 feet tall. They play together. They complement each other well. Wolf is very dynamic, can play on the perimeter, can shoot it, can dribble it. Vlad Golden's your classic big guy, but he did hit some threes against Northwestern yesterday too. Those two lead the way. They're a really, really good duo, a very non-traditional duo, being both as big as they are. The backcourt doesn't quite pack the same punch. Now, Michigan shoots pretty well from three. It is one of the most efficient offenses in the country. Third in effective field goal percentage, 14th in adjusted offensive efficiency. The problem is it turns it over a ton. Turns it over on more than 20% of their possessions. That's not good. Big test for Purdue on the glass here. If Michigan can get on the offensive glass where it's very good, one of the better teams in America on the offensive glass with those two 7-footers, then you're going to give them enough possessions that you kind of worry. If you can control the glass, I think you feel all right. I mean, that's a big part of that matchup, because Purdue is vulnerable at times on the glass. Purdue's going to need big minutes from Raleigh Burgess. Purdue's going to need First and Kaufman-Renn. Purdue's going to need Kaufman-Renn to stay out of foul trouble. Easier said than done lately. But as you kind of look at the Big Ten race here to kind of wrap this thing up, right now it feels like it's a 4-team race. You've got Michigan State, you've got Michigan, you have Purdue, and you have Illinois. Going to be interesting to see. Michigan State keeps on winning. It doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense to me. You look at the Michigan State roster, and it's not like remarkably impressive. You don't look at it and say, man, this is a loaded group, but they keep on winning. I mean, they're 16-2 overall. They haven't lost since November. They're doing some really nice things. We'll see what goes on there. It's not like Michigan State has a crazy schedule the rest of the way. You've got some tough road games at Illinois, at Michigan. Purdue goes there. They get Michigan twice. Same deal with Michigan. You got 2 against Michigan State. You got 2 against Purdue. Big one on Friday. Illinois is the fascinating one because it's at 3 losses, but it definitely has the highest ceiling of anyone in the Big Ten. Kasparis Yakachonis is really, really good. And he was in a ton of foul trouble on Sunday at Michigan State. I think Illinois fans have a little bit of a legitimate gripe there. But we'll see. We'll see where things go. It's going to be interesting. This is one where it very well could be a split Big Ten title. I don't know. Can Wisconsin keep up? I don't know. Greg Gard's teams haven't exactly finished the season well historically, so we'll see what goes on there. But if you're Purdue, you've done what you needed to do. This was a stretch where Purdue had some really winnable games. Purdue had some lesser opponents in the Big Ten. It avoided getting knocked off. It won, it's won these 6 games since the new year. Only one has been a single-digit game, and that was on the road against a top, Oregon was number 13 in the country. Purdue's done what it needed to do. You've seen Purdue really grow. You've seen Purdue really improve. And now, as it does get into some tougher games, Ohio State has talent. Michigan's a tough game. Indiana games are never a walk in the park. You've got some road trips. I don't love Iowa, but they can be dangerous. Road trips to Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State, Indiana on the road. Purdue's given itself a little bit of, I don't want to say cushion, but it's done its job. It's 7-1 in league play. And boy, if you can win both of these games this week, you put yourself in a really good spot. I think Purdue will beat Ohio State. Obviously, it's got to play well to do so. Sets up a really big one on Friday against Michigan. So we'll see what goes on there. We'll be back next week to talk about the happenings from Mackey Arena this week. And definitely send over some questions. Only one game next week, so we'll find plenty of stuff to talk about. Might take a big picture look at Purdue's program, some stuff like that. Look at the freshmen, look at where Purdue's headed. Send over questions on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. Email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. As I said, we'll be back next week. Until then, guys, take care. Enjoy the games this week.